Thanks again for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got a nice lifestyle business in the web design hosting industry making nearly $1,200 a month in net profit. The listing is fully public, and the listing number is 40044. The website is hotlinewebdesign.com. The real asset here is the recurring customers. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. And first off, let me just say, John, thanks for coming on the show, man. Thanks for giving up a bit of your time to, lay out the information behind your business.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Cool, man. So tell me a little bit about your background in starting this business. Why web design? How'd you get into this? I know the business was started in 2010. How'd you get it rolling?
Well, this wasn't my first business. I tried a few different things online, and all of those failed. So I moved back in with my mom, and my family's in the restaurant business, so I started helping her run the restaurants, and I do the day-to-day management, stuff like that. And gradually, I learned more and more about the marketing side, and so we built a website, we did email marketing, social media, all of that kind of fun stuff. And it worked so well that other restaurants nearby started asking me for help, and I eventually turned it into a business. And then I got lucky that one of the local distributors in the area, a food distributor, so they basically sell the food to the restaurants. They wanted to partner with me and have me service, some of their 1,000 customers. So that was kind of like my lucky break. And I think they had 30 sales reps that were promoting me, and I drive around all day to different restaurants and sell them on web design and marketing and social media. And that's kind of how the business started at the very beginning.
So you got your start through a distributor who basically said, hey, I've got an idea. We've got these other restaurants that we think are going to need help with websites and that kind of thing. And you're our guy. So we're going to, that was your kind of, foot in the door to get you started with the business.
Yeah, that got me started. It gave me the cash flow. It actually built up a lot of my skills, sales, talking to people, customer service. And at the time, I actually didn't know how to code or do any of the design work myself. So I found a couple of contractors that I partnered with, and that didn't really work out too well because I was splitting it 50-50, and I wasn't making enough money with the amount of time I invested. So then I did the next best thing is I tried to hire people locally, like college students, recent graduates. So I did interviews, and I don't know what they're teaching in college these days or, back when I had this business going, but they didn't have any skills, I was like, oh no, I can't find someone local at the price point. So I turned to outsourcing, and then I started hiring people here in the Philippines. And, that's kind of what they did, the back end work. I did project management, customer service, and sales.
I should actually mention this right now. This is not typical with most of our sellers, but we're actually buddies. I've known John for a couple of years, and we've spent quite a bit of time hanging out. He actually lives in the Fort area of Manila, a really, really nice area. I was visiting him a couple of weeks ago. So it's great to have, a buddy's website listed with Empire Flippers. It is great to have you on, and it's great to be able to list your business. And so I know a bit more about this business than I might even, our typical sales, just because we've talked about it. We've been in masterminds before and had some time to chat. Let's talk a little bit about how the site makes money. There have been multiple ways the site made money in the past, and you've consolidated that down a bit. Can you talk about that a bit?
Sure. So right now, the primary way is through recurring, I guess you can call it hosting. All my sites right now are on Adobe Business Catalyst. So it's like a 5-in-1 CMS. They got email marketing, reporting, analytics, just a lot of really neat stuff. And the reason I actually chose it was because originally I was using WordPress for everything. And I, as a non-coder, someone who, I learned a little bit, but it was too complicated for me. And it actually was too complicated for most of my customers, if you can believe that. They couldn't figure out the difference between posts and pages. And so I found Business Catalyst. It, works really well. It's point and click editing, very simple to use. They give me a commission for being a reseller. And I totally mark up what the actual hosting is. So an example would be, I would charge $99 a month for the software, and basically I would pay Adobe $38.88, and then they would give me a 20% commission back on that. So I'm making close to like $70 per month per customer without really having to do anything. Once they're on the system, they can take care of themselves. If they have a question, I answer the question. but it's pretty much hands off after they're in the system. And then outside of that, people do need some custom work done. So I charge $75 an hour for anything that they would want. So if they want me to put a new menu on their website, I'll do that. Or if they want to recode the site, I'll do that as well. And normally what I like to do, or what I tell my clients actually, is every 2 to 3 years to have a site redesigned. So the last batch of redesigns, we switched over to responsive web design. And that's basically where, the site resizes to fit iPads and smartphones and all that kind of stuff. There's always upsells that you can make, every year to two with different clients. And then, of course, any hourly work that they would want. That happens pretty frequently for certain clients and less so for others.
So everyone's knowing now that they need to be on mobile. Even restaurants are like, we need to have a nice mobile design. So there's some extra work done there. Now, I think you have 15 clients right now, and the business is making nearly $1,200 a month. Now, none of those custom services you've offered or hourly is included in that $1,200 a month. This is just your recurring. So those would be add-ons that actually aren't included in the price or the revenue figures that we have stated. Is that correct?
No, actually, the $1,200 is the monthly average over the last year for these 15 customers. The recurring revenue is about $1,479 every month, but the profit is about $950, and that's just the recurring software.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So there's a lot of upside if you want to do the hourly and then the upgrades and things like that. And actually, if you look at, if you buy this company, you'll see that probably 4 or 5 of the sites of the clients actually do need an upgrade soon, probably in the next 6 months or so. So you could do that for free. You could do it for $1,500, for $2,000. You could figure out whatever you wanted to do for that.
Okay, so that's an additional way to make money. We're actually going to talk about some of the opportunities and some of the risks of the site in a bit. Before we do that, let's get into niche selection. Now, it's pretty clear to me why you got in this niche. I mean, your family's involved in the restaurant industry. You had some, web design experience, and so you were just kind of their guy for doing that. So it seems like you kind of stumbled into the niche. Like it was something that was in your skill sets, and it was like right place, right time kind of thing. One thing that kind of freaks me out, it's crazy about getting into niches is this one in particular, is that everyone and their brother is a web designer or, was selling hosting services. So it's amazing to me that you're able to do this and be able to get a fair amount of businesses. Isn't this something that's a bit overcrowded? How did you try to niche down? What was your kind of approach there?
Okay, yeah. So I made a lot of mistakes over the years. I would basically do what all the web designers do when they start off, and it's undercharging for your services. It's, trying to go for a varied client base. And then I think one of the big mistakes people make is they sell hosting for $20 a month. They're using something like HostGator. They're hosting a WordPress site, and, maybe they're paying $50 for a reseller account every month, and they're selling hosting for $20 per client. And, it sounds like, oh, that's cool, free money, you don't have to do anything, but it doesn't work that way. Now they think that they own you, and they have all these questions, and if something breaks, they say it's your fault. And $20 really isn't, that much money at all. How many clients do you need to make any kind of decent money?
Yeah, you need scale.
So what I did is I ended up, that's why I switched to Business Catalyst, and I figured, what? My clients, they don't care about the back end. They don't care about the technical details. They don't know how to do that stuff. That's why they hired a professional. And so I charge more money than most people do for hosting, and I'm basically selling the peace of mind. Hey, if you have a question, you can contact me and I help you. And most of my clients have stuck with me for 3 to 4 years, which if you know anything about the web design world, that's a long time. People usually get pissed off at their web designers after a year or two and want to switch, or they hold on and they just have nothing but negative things to say. And I'll be first to say that when I met a lot of my clients, that's exactly what they said about their old web design company or their old hosting company. So while it seems like everyone is doing hosting or web design these days, most people are really, really bad at it. They don't know customer service or sales, and they only make a few bucks. They poor service, and it's not as crowded as you think. If you're a quality provider, it's very easy to get new clients, especially if you target some of the higher level clients. And with $100 a month, you're not getting the cheapskates.
So you're able to charge a premium because you're giving this peace of mind service where they know they can go to you, they know that you're going to take care of them, that kind of thing. And that's why if you're charging $20 a month, you wouldn't be able to, you just don't have the margin to offer that higher level of service.
You can't, and you get pissed off. I mean, that's what I did before, and every time they had a question, I would get pissed off because I'd lose money. And it's like, if say you got 50 clients and everyone asks a question once a month, that's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And if they don't have any skills, sometimes you have to get on the phone. So
your thought is less clients making more money per client seem to be the route to go. Now, why Adobe Business Catalyst? I heard what you said with the posts and pages, but I mean, WordPress is, we tell everyone, go to WordPress. It's kind of the standard. And if you don't know it, you should learn it. But is it just because restaurant, in the restaurant industry, they don't even want to learn WordPress? They have zero, online skills, and they just want something that's really, really easy? Is that kind of the thought process?
Well, I want to just say that I do have restaurants, but I have other businesses, other types of small businesses as well that are clients.
Okay.
But in general, the small business owner or manager doesn't know how to do that stuff. Some of them still have a hard time sending an attachment in an email, if you can believe that. So the reason I switched was Adobe, they're a big company. It's very easy to navigate their platform, all the security updates, everything is handled by them. So it's really hands-off for me. I don't want to be going into WordPress and doing security patches, updating plugins, and, worrying about if the theme is going to break. I don't want to do that after I build the site. I just want the revenue coming in and make profit for, years after the site is built. And Adobe can really do that very well.
Gotcha. So you were looking for something a bit more hands-off. Now, do you happen to know, how long your average client has been with you so far?
I don't know. I don't know what the average is because, everyone starts at different points. But I'll say that some of my clients have been with me for 3 or 4 years. And I don't think I've actually lost a client ever. I fired clients. I've recently fired quite a few clients that didn't want to upgrade. They were the WordPress hosting people, and I said, this is the new way we're doing things, and if you don't want to do that, fine, I'll help you transition to, Bluehost or something, and I ended the relationship. But, they want to stay for a while with you. If you're a good provider, they have no reason to leave, especially if, every few months you say, hey, just wanted to let you know, Google just did this new SEO thing. You might want to look into, updating some of your SEO and the title tags and stuff like this. If you want help, I can help you do that only for $200. I'll do it. We'll get it done this week.
John, that's not terribly surprising to me. You look at these hosting companies, and they give huge bounties for bringing in more than, the customers paying up front. And the reason they're able to do that is because they have, they get their customers to stick long term. They've done the numbers, they've crunched it, and they know that long term these guys stick, so they're willing to pay those huge bounties. That makes sense to me. Plus, the pain to switch hosting. We're actually doing that right now ourselves, and it's not easy. It's pull your hair out time. So if you've got a good host that's providing a good service, then you stick with them. Let's move a little bit into kind of your reason for selling. So why are you selling the site? Why aren't you just keeping it yourself and growing it?
So the main reason is I'm ready to go into a different business model. And I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and actually I was quite stressed for most of the time because I wasn't doing things right. But very recently I ended up switching, getting rid of the problem clients, the ones that aren't making money. I stopped offering some of the full services that I used to do. I used to do social media marketing, and I would actually, write the posts for people, and I would even write their email newsletters for them. And it was, it was good money. You can make $200 to $500 per month just doing this stuff, and it doesn't, it's not hard to do. But the problem was, most small businesses, as they're very last minute people, and it ended up being just too stressful for me, especially since I'm out here in Asia. The time difference and contacting people, I just didn't want to do that anymore. And that's actually when we started talking about that in Davao, is I was ready just to close the business and just, get rid of all my customers. And then you and Damien were saying, hold on, we might have something here. So we started talking about it, and I actually decided, this business would be a good business if the problem clients weren't there. So I got rid of all the problem clients and stopped doing the full service. And now I got a nice little business just through recurring. There's not much work involved, and, there's a lot of free time for the profit. So.
Cool. So it's funny. I remember you were ready to pull your hair out with some problems.
Oh, I was so upset.
Miserable.
Oh, I was so stressed. Yeah.
So it's good that you were able to dump them, but keep, I think, the valuable piece of your business. And the other thing is too, John, is that some people are going to look at this and they're going to agree with you. They're going to be like, oh, I don't want to do that either, or I've been down that road, I've done the web hosting, it's not for me. Other people are going to go, wow, that seems like a really interesting business. I'd love to get into that. I've got products right now that I can sell as add-ons to these customers that John has, so they're going to see value where you may even be done with it. So that's just the interesting part about buying and selling websites and businesses, is that someone else is going to see opportunity where you don't.
Well, to be perfectly fair, I see opportunity in this business, and frankly, doing all the changes I changed and being where the business is now, if I was not in Southeast Asia, I would not be selling it. If I was in the Western world in the same time zone as all my clients and other potential clients, I think this business is ready. I mean, you could really expand this business fast, especially if your main goal is to get as many clients as you can on the $99 a month. And even offer cheaper web design services up front just to get them on the recurring, that could be kind of the quick boost to get, higher recurring revenue without really that much effort. So,
gotcha.
It's hard to do in Southeast Asia. If you want to be up early or up late, it's a little harder.
You end up working weird hours. So what's your plan for the cash when you sell? What are you going to do?
Well, I'd like to start another business. There's a few different things that I've been wanting to do for the last 2 to 3 years, but I just never got around to it. So I think I'm going to put most of it towards another startup in the next 6 months.
Like what? Are you stealth or are you?
Well, I'm happy to share. Since I have so much experience in the restaurant world, I've been going back and forth, if I should stay in it or not. And I think I'm going to create an educational platform for restaurants and try to partner with a lot of the distributors and restaurant associations. There's a lot of stuff that they're not doing that, if they had the right partner, and that the right partner is probably me, they could offer a lot of things that are standard in the rest of the, in other industries, but the restaurant world is always 7 to 10 years behind. So I think I'm going to take a shot at that and work on that for 6 months to a year and see where it goes.
Interesting. For our outsourcing business, we had a client that wanted us to call bars and restaurants and find out things like what time's your happy hour, what days, and what do you serve, and what kind of food products. And it was so difficult to get the manager or owner on the phone because we just needed the data. It was for an app, right? And so we were just trying to collect the data. So we stopped even calling and telling them that it was for an app or that it was for. We just called as a customer because at least we could talk to a server who could give us the real deal. And they're notoriously hard to get in contact with. But I think it helps when you have some ins or when you're familiar in the restaurant space, which you obviously have. Let's talk a little bit about the site history. So I know the business was started in 2010, but you actually built out this site in January 2013. What was your reasoning for building out the website when you already had the business going?
I think it actually was January 2012 that I ended up switching. Or maybe it was 2013. I can't remember. Whatever it was, I was focused on restaurants, doing WordPress stuff, and then I decided, let's get into Adobe Business Catalyst, and I want to start targeting other types of businesses as well. So I started Hotline Web Design and, had the back-end platform for Business Catalyst and just kind of put everyone on there who wanted to be on it, and then all my new clients just automatically were customers of Business Catalyst. So that's kind of when I did the whole rebranding and changeover, and I still had the WordPress customers, and I just recently got rid of them the last few months. But I wanted something that was simple, that was easy to scale, and didn't have too many bugs or complications.
So tell me some things you've tried with the business overall that did work, that didn't work. Have you tried things like AdWords? What other kind of marketing channels have you attempted, and what did you find that was successful and non-successful? Okay,
so I learned a lot of lessons, and as far as the marketing goes, I really haven't been that successful with marketing. I spent so much in the car, driving around doing face-to-face sales or phone sales, and that worked for me, especially when I had good partnerships and referrals. So most of the business I could handle came through that, and I really didn't need to do anything else, so I never really tried it. But now if you don't want to be doing that, and I don't think I would do that myself anymore, that's why I left the U.S. and came to Southeast Asia, so I didn't want to be in the car for 12 to 14 hours a day. So I think the best thing to do is find partners and try to handle as much as you can, do the sales over the phone. Don't meet with people because they don't respect your time if you do that. You could sit somewhere for an hour and it really was 5-minute conversation. Haven't done AdWords. I don't know if they would work or not for this type of thing. I think probably an educational approach would work best. So if I was keeping the company, what I think I would do is I would go to different chamber of commerces and different associations, for different types of businesses, not necessarily restaurants, and just say, hey, I'd love to do like a workshop for you, or maybe here's some video tutorials I created. I'd love to put them on your website, or maybe write, articles for you for your newsletter, and you'd be the expert, marketer or web designer for their association or chamber. And I think that's the way to go, because everyone's looking for an expert, and most web designers are kind of these jokers running around, and or people in India. I think we did a mastermind last year where one of the guys in Davao has some restaurants, and he was talking about like every day people come into his restaurant trying to sell him on marketing or web design or something like that. So, and he turns everyone away because they're all like, they're all kind of jokers. They don't know what they're doing. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like your idea of going to the Chamber of Commerce and scrape. You can pay a VA to go through and scrape that information and then actually match it up, via LinkedIn profiles or that kind of thing, and get you a nice, I think, a clean list. And you could do, obviously if remote, you could do webinars, but if you could do in-person events and actually set it up sponsored or through the Chamber of Commerce, that would, I think, be an effective strategy to at least try out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The in-person stuff, I did that a few times for a few restaurant associations, and you're instantly an expert, and people will come to you like right after a presentation and say, all right, I need this, can you help me? And that's like an instant sale. You don't have to do anything else. So it works very well if you're local.
We both know a guy that did something like that, government-sponsored in Australia. And so he would do kind of these like small business, like mini conferences basically, and he'd be speaking on behalf of the government on, all these things, and he couldn't pitch his stuff, but just, in turn, he ended up getting quite a bit of business out of it just because he's viewed as the expert, right? So they would come back to him and ask him about his business and what he can do to help them and that kind of thing. So that's pretty interesting. What did you learn about, basically the site right now doesn't bring any leads. So anyone who purchases this business is going to have to set up their own marketing channels. And that's one of the reasons I want to discuss that in this interview. What did you learn from building this business that just seemed to work? Something that you'll apply to, a future website or business that you build?
Recurring revenue is essential. Just focus as hard as you can on getting that recurring revenue, even if you have to take a loss up front. I'd happy to set up like a template type site for people that takes maybe a couple hours to do, as long as I can get them on the $99 a month. And that's like a year, every year that's $1,000 profit about. And if you can keep them for 3 years, that's like $3,000 for just a few hours of work, and then you can get referrals from them, and then the upsells. Everyone needs, extra help with something. So I think just getting someone to be a customer, to begin with is a great strategy to go with.
I like that idea. So like over-delivering on anyone who signs up for the $99 a month program. So like, even giving away a bit more rather than doing the Bluehost approach or whatever, where they're actually, paying huge affiliate commissions, which, that's a route you could take. But rather than doing that, delivering a ton of value to them so that they, may even stay a longer term just because they're like, wow, I got so much value for my first $100. I wonder what else I'm going to get out of this, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then definitely simplify. Don't do anything complicated, and that's what I've been focused on the last 6 months, just simplifying, have one service offering, and that way, like, if you do scale, you don't have to do everything yourself. You could hire someone, it's not complicated for them to take care of your clients.
All right, John. So this next section, we're going to talk about traffic and earnings a bit. Now, there's very little traffic to the website itself, and it's not a big lead generator for you. So we're not going to talk much about the traffic there. We are going to talk about the earnings a little bit. Now, we said about $1,200 a month. That's averaged over the last 12 months in net profit per month, and that's what we're basing the sales price on. Now, give me a breakdown on the earnings type. You said about $900 of that per month is recurring, and the rest, the $300 or so, is from kind of the add-ons or the special services you've offered over the last 12 months. Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going to continue with this, I think you said something about not wanting to do the special offers, like that not being the focus, and you'd really focus in on the recurring. Why is that? Because that seems counterintuitive to me, and I know we're kind of bleeding into opportunities here, but like I would see that, if you could offer $300, $500 upsells, that would completely be worth it, and you're building better relationships with these customers. But you're saying that you'd rather just put that effort and energy into getting more recurring clients. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, I used to try to sell expensive websites, and I think the most expensive one I sold was $10,000. And I was so excited when I got that deal. $10,000. I was selling websites for $2,000. Like, that's 5 times as much money. But the problem was, like, the sales cycle is so much longer, and then actually completing the website. Well, we built it in a month. This is when I had my team. It took them another 12 months before they got all the content and everything figured out. So if you look at from when I first started contacting them to when the site was launched, that was like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And, $10,000 spread over a year and a half is not that much, especially when you have to keep talking to them and they keep asking the same questions. And I just figured out that, just get something template, offer maybe, this is what I would do is I would have 4 or 5 templates. I was getting a new client, say, pick one of these, I'll customize it for you, I'll put your colors in and photos and logo. And then, they know what they're getting because they can say, oh, I like this, that's what I want. And then you don't have all the back and forth of design. And then you get them right into the recurring monthly. So
I think, John, we'll see what the new buyer does with it. But I think that there's an opportunity for, the type of person that's really good at following up and getting upsells and really maximizing referral opportunities and stuff. I think that there's a lot of value with this. By the way, are you including previous customers? Do you have a list of the previous customers that you're going to include in the sale?
What do you mean?
Like their contact information and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so my existing customers, you'll have all their information, their history with the company, their email, their phone number, the address, everything everything that I have, I'm going to give to you on these customers. So.
What about the previous WordPress customers? Do you have their contact information? Will that be included?
No, I don't think so. Most of them, that I've kind of let go in the last 6 months or so, I've referred other web designers and different people to take care of them. So.
Okay.
They're not people that you probably want to work with anyway. So.
Okay. So getting back to the earnings or whatever. So we're talking $900 a month on recurring, about $300 a month on extra services. I think if someone's, can do that and is really good with upsells or really good at, pushing referrals, I think that they could probably squeeze quite a bit more out of the business. Because in talking to you, and I know you have been, that's the only reason I'm going to say this, man, but I don't think you've been fantastic at that. There's probably more opportunities for upsells than you've done with.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll be the first to say that. I've been out here in Asia for a little over a year, and when I left, I was just stressed, and I didn't want to deal with that stuff anymore. So I kind of took the lifestyle approach. What's the bare minimum I could do? And I've turned this into a lifestyle company. So, what's the minimum amount of time I can invest to get, nice profits? Now, if you want to take the opposite approach, which is what I used to do, is, get on that phone, email people, follow up. There's, every 6 months you could be selling the customers, the clients, something different. SEO, Facebook. Like I said, I was doing email marketing for people and I was charging $200 to write 2 emails every month. It takes you 10 minutes to write an email for them and, that's great profit. But, it takes more time going back and forth. So for the person that wants to grow this into a larger type agency, there's a lot of opportunity to do that with the existing customers and with the new customers. I
think someone that already has an agency too, this might just be a nice client pickup for them, and they can put them into their already set up, marketing and email funnels and upsell opportunities and stuff. So just the last thing I'll say on the traffic and earnings is that while you've had some of these customers for several years, again, there's no guarantees on the earnings or anything like that, but these clients are relatively stable. Do you have any clients you put on the last 6 months?
Oh, that I've added as new clients?
Yeah.
I think maybe 6 months. I think maybe I added 1 new client in the last 6 months, but I've upgraded a few of them. So some of them that were on WordPress or cheaper Adobe plans, I upgraded to, higher recurring revenue every month. So. Gotcha.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the opportunities. We've kind of been digging through that a little bit so far, but if you were buying the site and you wanted the least risky path to growth, you want a nice, stable, I'll take 20% a year kind of growth, what would you do to get that, you think?
I think the easiest thing is focus on the existing customers, with upsells and other things. Every 2 years, if you do a redesign, that's, say another $2,000 every 2 years from each client you could get. And then if you wanted to offer email marketing where you write stuff for them or social media or SEO or, review monitoring on Yelp and all this other stuff, there's a lot that you could offer the existing customers. So that would be the first thing I would do. Then I would go for referrals. And I haven't done that in over a year since I've been out here. And the exact strategy I would take is I would contact each client and ask them to do a showcase on the Hotline website and get their, get a nice review, pictures of the site, their name and all this kind of stuff, and then ask, show that on the website so everyone can see it. They'll feel good about their website, and then ask for referrals. And then, of course, they can talk to their friends or, colleagues or whoever else they know and say, oh, hey, look, they're showcasing my website on their website. Take a look. They're really good.
Yeah.
So I think that's like those are the first two things that I would do, and you could probably double revenue within a year by doing just that.
The first one doesn't sound too time intensive either, and I like that. I think there's opportunity there. Second one, I think you'd have to put in a bit more time, but I think it's a lot of goodwill with the current customers too. I mean, you're going to be highlighting their sites and kind of showcasing their businesses, which customers always dig. If you wanted to really take a stab at this, like really build this into a, let's say, 10,000 plus a month business in the next 2 years, what would you do? Like what kind of steps would you take? Aggressive steps would you take to grow this business out?
I think I would focus more on partnerships. I don't really know much about the online stuff, but I know there's a lot of competition, especially from larger players. So I wouldn't go that route. I would go, like I said before, different agencies and different chambers and groups and associations, partner with them. I might do some direct mail, and then I would definitely do live workshops, maybe for free, maybe for paid, I don't know. But I think that's probably what I would do. I don't know if you need to do like door-to-door hard sales like I did before. I don't think that's the best way if you don't have like a warm lead or a connection. So I would focus more on like the educational, sale.
Gotcha. So you would go, the wholesale route. You would go chamber of commerce, workshops, that kind of thing, rather than the door-to-door retail sales.
Yeah, because I don't think that most web designers are doing that. I mean, I looked into this about a year and a half ago, and I was thinking about joining chambers, and I noticed, Chicago, Milwaukee, different chambers have, a couple of web designers on, as a member. And so they probably get a lot of the leads, from the other chamber members, but they didn't offer any like educational services or workshops or videos or articles on like through the chamber. And I'm thinking like, that's like the easiest way to become an expert, compared to, there's, in some chambers, there's like hundreds, if not thousands of businesses. Like that's an untapped opportunity.
That's a win for the chamber too, isn't it? I mean, they're going to be able to offer.
Huge win.
Yeah.
And
that justifies their fees, right?
Yeah, and I would even say, like, this is what I would do. I would go to the chambers or associations or whoever and say, I'd like to sponsor the marketing education for your chamber. I'll do live workshops.
Bring in experts. Like, you're the expert on this, and you bring it. Dude, that's a good idea. Regardless of buying your business or not, that's a good idea for anybody. I think that's a pretty cool niche, a pretty cool way to market your business, to get your skills out there, and really kind of be the coordinator for other experts to come into the chamber, too. I mean, you could be their guy, the chamber guy that helps add value to the Chamber of Commerce in different cities. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And if you got a nice lineup of like SEO people, social media people, hey, they're all add-ons for you. You know, it's like, hey, I'm doing social media for this guy. He needs a new website. I'll go with you. So the referrals for that are great. And
if you're really a boss, you can get a little piece of their business.
Of course. Yeah. Like a finder's fee or something like that.
Finder's fee, buddy. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the risks with your business. So what do you think are the biggest risks that if you were a buyer, you'd want to look at or be aware of?
The biggest risk, I think, is poor customer service. If you buy this business and don't interact with the customers, whether it's, like if you wait too long to email like a follow-up, like if they ask you a question, you wait 2 or 3 days, they might be okay with that. But if you can respond same day or next day, like they're going to be happy. And if you can be very detailed in your response, or even if you wanted to give them a phone call, like they love phone calls. Although I've trained most of my clients not to expect phone calls, but I think just doing a good job with customer service is the biggest challenge, because most people are bad at it. And if you don't focus on it, then they'll leave you. Which is the next thing, like the next biggest risk is people could lose their business and then stop being a customer. They'll just cancel their service. So I don't think there's much risk with being poached by another web design, because the time and the cost of switching platforms and all that is just too high, especially if they're getting good service from you. So I don't really see that happening. I
agree with your 2 risks. I'd also say that the other one is that you don't have a $1 in, $2 out marketing funnel. So someone's going to need to have a plan. They're going to need to be able to implement it, or have a current marketing funnel for their current customers that kind of integrates what you do. Otherwise, they're going to have to test through some of the things we're talking about here and some other ideas. And that's actually something you're going to get on the phone with people about. Some of the support you're willing to offer is I think 30 days of email support. You're willing to do 2 30-minute phone calls, and then I think a video walkthrough on Catalyst, and kind of get people up to speed there. So those are probably some of the things they can work with you on the transition after they buy the business, and helping them get up to speed. I think a marketing funnel setup and test through would be important as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So you talked in the work required. You mentioned, getting back to people within a couple of days. Geez, that's pretty slow. But I don't know. We've been really bad. Like, we were looking at it, and I've actually started tracking that in our monthly reports, like how quickly we get back to customers. And I think it's like 90% within 8 hours, I hope. But we've been slipping on that recently. So I think, you're talking about, a day or two. I think if you had a VA or something, you already have a VA in place that can handle some of these questions and really, help the customers out, that maybe you could speed that up. Or if you're just more of a Johnny on the spot guy, that may offer a better service for them. Now, I know your service is good when you get it, but the lifestyle business, a day or two, it can drag, especially here in Asia. I get it. So talk a little bit about the work. Now, we're looking at probably 5 hours a month conservatively, and that's basically just getting back to emails and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So the 5 hours is basically just like customer service, and it's just like taking care of the existing customers. So checking to make, I think that all the billings are on the first of the month, auto billed. So if a credit card fails or something, then you contact that customer and say, hey, we got to get a new credit card. If they have questions, you answer the questions. And sometimes, they might have an issue with something. So you do like another quick video tutorial for them or something really small. Or if, they get a new logo, you can just do that for free. Just pop in the new logo because it takes like 2 minutes.
I hear this? I hear this video tutorial stuff, and I'm thinking, oh my god! So I have to get a production company and set up this whole video thing and edit it. What are you talking about with the video tutorials?
Oh yeah, so I'm providing all the video tutorials for you already for the platform, and these are things I just recorded with ScreenFlow or something like that. And it's just me walking through the back end of the site, so it's very simple to do. I used to do if it's a marketing type tutorial, hey, here's some ideas for how to do better with your email marketing. Then I might use my iPhone or something and do a quick video of me talking, but you don't have to do that. That's not expected.
Did you put these video tutorials on the back end of Catalyst? Did you put them on YouTube or anything like that? I mean, even if they're
they're on YouTube.
They are. Okay.
They're YouTube, but they're on my website too. So if if a client's having questions, they just go to the website, click the support page, and there's all the tutorials. So
okay, so it's not this crazy hardcore video you're sending out to.
No. It's me. And I just talk through it. Sometimes I might have to redo the video if I mess up, really bad, but most of the time I just do it in one take, and there's ums and uhs, and I say, oh, wait, actually, never mind, don't do that. So, it
makes you feel a little better, because having done a couple of videos, oh my god, dude, I don't know, that's no way I don't want to do a ton of video. What skills or requirements are there? Because that's another concern as a buyer. I would wonder, okay, well, I don't know Business Catalyst. is it really difficult? I mean, what kind of, skills do I have to be able to run this business?
Okay, so there's basically two real skills that you need. First is you need to know how to code. If you're not a web designer right now, then this is not a good business for you. You need to learn HTML and CSS. You don't have to learn PHP or JavaScript or any or jQuery. I don't know how to do that stuff. I just know the basics with HTML and CSS, and I actually use Bootstrap as the kind of the foundation of all the sites I build. So that speeds up time. It only takes a few hours to build a new website. But you need to know that. And then Business Catalyst is actually quite easy to use because there's no PHP or anything like that like WordPress. What they have instead are kind of these short codes. And in the HTML, you just put in the short codes, and then it syncs up with their platform, and then you just do the editing in the platform.
Gotcha. So it sounds like HTML and CSS are critical. If they don't know it themselves, they have to have someone, a VA or someone on their team that does, because that'll be important for this business.
Yeah. And then the next thing is people skills. You need to talk to the clients through email or phone, and there may be a time where you do actually need to call them. They'll want to talk to you over the phone. If they're busy and it's something complicated, they'll want to talk. So, if you're afraid of people, then this is probably not a good business for you either. You can't hide behind a branded website. You're an actual person, they want to talk to you. So
well, that comes there's some real value in that anyway, having some personality in your business. We did a whole podcast episode on that. I think it's really important, especially in 2014, 2015 and beyond. to not be that crazy corporate guy, right? We do this and blah, blah, blah. No, you want to have some personality in your business. That's what people respond to and relate to.
Oh yeah, they love that. And that's building a relationship where now you're not just the web guy, you're their friend. I've talked to a few of my clients. I told them, hey, I'm in the Philippines. And they start joking around, actually saying some stuff that's inappropriate. I'm like, wow, they really feel comfortable with me if they're saying, saying that to their web guy.
Yeah. You're pretty laid back dude, man. So, I can see how people would relate really well to you. Let's talk a little bit about some additional information. Like, would you be willing to commit to a non-compete? Sometimes buyers are worried that, they buy this business and 3 months later you're poaching their clients because their client list and everything. Would you be willing to obviously avoid this particular client base and industry for a period of time?
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be working on something in the restaurant industry, but I won't be offering, I won't be doing the same thing towards them again. And the reason I'm selling is because I want to do something different. So I'm not going to compete with the existing business. I'm not going to steal clients. I'm not going to do anything like that. Will I build another website in the next year or two? Yeah, probably. People always need help with something. So, if I need some quick money, then I'll do that. But I won't be doing anything on the level of, this business with Business Catalyst or anything like that.
Gotcha. So, and you're willing to offer 30 days email support, 2 30-minute phone calls to help the new buyer get up to speed, and then, also some video tutorials. You're going to be handing those over as well. If someone needed a bit of additional help, would you give them an hourly rate? Is that something they could continue on with for another 30 days if needed?
Yeah, I think I could do that for another 30 days. The one thing I'm not really looking for is, like 6 months down the line to be answering questions. Like, yeah. I don't want to do that. I think within like 2 or 3 months, you need to be on your own. And like I said, the video tutorials, I get long-winded sometimes, so I'll be very detailed with everything that you need to know. I'll give you like certain like code snippets that I use if you want to use that in the future. And I think I might even do this. I wasn't doing it originally, but I'll give you a couple of the templates that I use. So if you want to build a quick website, you can just use those and get people on the platform.
Cool.
So,
all right. So one other question. Are you open to a split or an earnout? Sometimes we have buyers that go, well, I know there's a bit of training. I want to make sure that I get all that completed and I feel comfortable moving forward. Can we do 70% up front and 30% at the end of the 30 days after training? Can we do 60% up front and 10% a month over the next 4 months based on, the business, retaining, X amount of clients? Is that something you'd be open to with the right buyer?
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because, this business, it only takes a few hours a month to make the money. So it's like, all right, if I'm going to be earning something out, well, then I might as well keep 100% for the next few months while you learn, and then I'll keep all the profit. So I'm happy, to explain and talk everything over the phone, go into detail, make sure you're getting what you want out of it. But I'm not looking to do any earnouts or anything like that.
So you don't want to drag out, basically.
I don't want to drag out, and I think there's so much opportunity here that if I was trying to earn something out, well, then I might as well not sell it, and I might as well just go to the U.S. for a few months and, get another 10, 15 clients. So,
all right, let's do it. Let's do a quick wrap. No worries. Different buyers and sellers are interested in closing the business different ways. So we'll see what interest is out there when they, start reaching out and getting in contact. Let's do a quick summary. So, basically this is a web design plus hosting business. It's like a service hosting business. It's hotlinewebdesign.com. You've got 15 recurring clients, and you're effectively reselling Adobe Business Catalyst. The reseller account for Adobe Business Catalyst, it's able to be taken over, so you can actually transfer that to the new buyer. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, it's normally $2,000 to be a partner, and I'll give you my account, and then you get 20% commissions on the software. So
great. Okay.
That gets paid out every $500 through PayPal.
Okay, and then the business was created in 2010. The website was created in January 2013. You spend about 5 hours a month on customer service, on a few more hours per month on some of the custom services that you've done. Your average monthly profit over the last 12 months average is $1,192.35. John, if you give me your best 30-second pitch on why someone should purchase a site, why it might be a good fit for them, what would you say?
I think this is a great business to buy, whether you're a freelancer, you're an existing agency, or if you're just a developer wanting to travel and quit your job. It's got steady cash flow, steady profit without much effort involved. and then there's a lot of opportunity to grow it. So whether you want to grow it with add-on services like social media marketing, email marketing, text messaging, any of that kind of stuff, or whether you just want to keep it simple and just focus on getting new customers through building new websites or doing hourly tweaks and updates. It's a steady, stable business that you can grow as long as you provide great customer service. They're not going to leave you.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to check out this business and all the information we've shared today, you can go over to empireflippers.com/marketplace. Look for listing number 40044. Again, the website is hotlinewebdesign.com. And we're looking forward to your inquiries. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us there.